the Gaelic language uses a Semitic mind. It uses an Arabic Semitic mind. And it has puzzled linguists. There are books written on this to try and explain it. And I'm explaining it using the genetic history that we have, the Edomite history that we have, the moving around of people groups. I'm explaining it to you as being very clearly the Israelites migrated out of the Levant into Europe, and major concentrations of original groups were in the British Isles. Now you go, that's insane. How could they forget their heritage? How could they forget their own language?
All right, man, what's in his audience? A bunch of babies. That's all I hear back there. And a couple women. But first off, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the elders in GMS, elders and apostles of GMS, and Shalom to all the Ox and Aquath scattered abroad. I'm about to go into the migration of Israelites into Europe. I'm going to play this video a couple times and then play a very, I would even say, prolific lesson from the channel Jacob Barak in a second. And this might be a little more lengthy than I want, so I'm just going to get started.
Language. How could they forget these things? Well,
go to let's get my point started.
When Israel was there, and it starts to connect the modern day Europeans to the ancient Israelites. We know that royalty was replaced by King Herod. The high priest and priestly class were being replaced. We see that with Annas and Caiaphas. We see it with the Pharisees and Sadducees versus the Essenes. We see it in other records. This is represented by today's Ashkenazi and lay people being haplogroup J, which is arguably Shemite, while the Levites are haplogroup R. And get this, I and J, again, like I said before, I and J are closely related to each other. And then R is related to both of them, making them the same family. They are not closely related to O, and they are furthest from E. E is Africa, O is China. In other words, even though we have a shared common ancestor, I, J, and R are a family of haplogroups. I is Scandinavians, J is predominantly Arabs and would also be Edomites, R is predominantly Europeans, East and West, R1b and R1a. This is represented by today's Ashkenazi and lay people being haplogroup J, while the Levites are haplogroup R. Rutzi et al. 2013 and Bayer et al. 2017 revealed Levites maintain their positions and have the original Israelite genetic signature. That's my argument. That's not a small argument, by the way. To make very clear, I am stating that Europeans are Shemite Israelite descendants. That's my argument. Now here's my supporting arguments for that. Are you all ready for this? These are the studies that prove that statement, because otherwise it sounds just laughably stupid. Okay, like I said at the beginning of the sermon, I'm having cognitive dissonance. There are two competing ideas in my brain right now. But I'm siding with the science and with the scriptures and with apparently occurred. Let's look at the supporting arguments, and then you're going to need to consider them for yourself. Okay, I put them up there so that you can read them. For those of you sitting here, those of you online, I should be able to put up some screenshots. If I don't, please forgive me. I am working on writing an article that will have all these citations. Okay, the Bronze Age arrival. Okay, there's a Bronze Age arrival, according to Haber et al. 2017. Are you guys ready for this? So we cited Rutzi and Bayer. This is Haber et al. 2017. Using something called linkage disequilibrium decay, which is known as a genetic clock. The researchers estimated.
That's Shaitan. Well, anyway, I'm finna go into this other video anyway.
The Eurasian gene flow occurred between 1800 BC and 200 BC. Now, when I say Eurasian
yeah, man. Y'all can watch that yourself, man. I'm about to get into the edification in a second. I'm about to bring up one more claim he brought up and then get into that video I was talking about. And you, when I reveal the channel, you should subscribe and be edified. Hold on. 44. That's good. So lucky, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm pressing this play button. That's cool. When he misuses the word ruddy is what I'm trying to bring out, but whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring out the other video. Wow. I think I should start a little early. Man, if I can get this thing to play.
I'd like to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and welcome to another installment.
Rock. Dang, this thing keeps pausing, yo.
In this installment, we're going to talk about
1757.
The Black Irish, and talk about Jake being in Ireland and Scotland. I don't know if we've mentioned it before, but I don't know if we ever really kind of went into depth and touched on it. I seen a video that was done the other day. It might have been done earlier today or yesterday by Bishop Menachizak. So I got it queued up, and I'm going to play a couple, maybe about a minute of it, and then I'm just going to run right into it. So this is Bishop Menachizak, and it's a video he put up earlier today. It's called So-Called Blacks and Browns Are the Israelites. So let me play it from here, the 10-minute, 14-second mark. He don't even realize why he said that. All right, so now I'm going to read it one more time, then I'm going to go to Deuteronomy. Because there's a reason why that you have that tension, and it's still in certain places, but you notice it's not much between so-called black and brown, the Latinos and the blacks. Because why? It's the spirit of the Lord, because we're coming at the last days. The Lord said he should raise up the tabernacles of David, which have fallen. All right, so in the house of David or the elect, you're going to have, and it tells you in Revelation, it's 12,000 out of each tribe. So when you have certain individuals to reap such and such pushing that FBA, well, that's all bullshit. All right, at the end of the day, we're brothers. So-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and then it goes deeper because why? We're scattered through all the other countries. All right, I was watching a comedian, this Irish comedian, and he was just going all into. He was breaking down his perspective of growing up in Ireland. Right, they never looked. He said the first time he heard the term Black Irish is when he came over here. But he said, of course, he said we were over in Ireland. We were before it was Eminem. We was over there in Ireland doing that. He said, and if you look at the Irish, they got too much in common with the West Indians. All right, because why? We ruled Ireland at a period of time. You know, and a lot of them. That's why when they came over here during the famine, the potato famine, and getting kicked out and all that, what they called them? They called them niggas. They said, look, no, they had the signs. That's when they had the segregation, right? They say, no blacks and no Irish. All right, they were treated the same. I mean, that's going into other history, but just to show you the depth and the richness of how far we've been scattered. Right. So now, what Bishop Menachizak is speaking about there, over there in Wales, England, in them different places over there at that time, they used to have signs when people were going to rent apartments, and the signs would say, no blacks, no dogs, and no Irish. Couldn't rent an apartment out there in England. They used to have signs up that said that. You can look that up on the internet too. They would have signs that would say no blacks, no dogs, and no Irish. Because the Irish are regarded as the niggas of Europe or the blacks of Europe, as well as with the Southern Italians. They're also known as the niggas of Europe or the blacks of Europe. Now, Bishop Menachizak, he made mention of that. He was talking about how Israel was scattered. Now, Bishop Tazaiwan, would you read that for me in Deuteronomy? If you can hear me, Bishop Tazaiwan. I guess the brother is having difficulty with his with getting into the stream. I guess he'll pop back in. So what I'll do is I'll grab it. I'll grab it myself. Let me read Deuteronomy 28. I'm gonna get Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Then I'm gonna play something, and then I'm gonna bring out some history. Deuteronomy 28 and 64, I believe is. Are you back, Bishop Zion? Let me put you. I the wrong goddamn button. Okay, no problem. Hey, shalom, you brethren out there. Shalom, brethren, you aquas out there. All right, so Deuteronomy 28 and 64. It says, turn this on. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right. So Bishop Menachizak was saying that, look, he was talking about Black Irish, and he was talking about how Jake was scattered all over the four corners of the earth. Now, going back to dealing with the Black Irish. Now, the particular comedian that he was speaking about, that was talking about it, he was doing a stand-up, but there's a term called a lot of truth is said in jest. Now, the guy he was speaking of is this guy right here. I think his name is David Hill. I could be wrong. That might not be his name. That might be the name of the person that was playing the video on Instagram.
So I'm gonna just play this. It's really not that long, and you're gonna listen to his spiel, and then from there, I'm gonna hit some history. Okay, so I'm gonna just play this.
People think we're black, right? And he's like, what? So, yeah, we've been saying it behind closed doors for years. We are the blacks of Europe. And he's like, you might not want to say that anymore.
You heard that, right? He said the Irish, we've been saying this for years behind closed doors, that we are the blacks of Europe. Now, he's saying it as a joke, but it's not a joke. It's actually true. Remember, a lot of truth is said in jest. You got anything to say, Bishop Design? Before I go play more of the video? Yeah, you're going to find out that our people, Israel, all right, the Israelites primarily are who you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. But you're going to also find out that we have seeds throughout the whole planet Earth, man. Because you got to understand, throughout the ages, you see, your school curriculum, bullshit they teach you in these schools, they make you think that every nation or nationality was in one fucking place for thousands of years, and all of a sudden they all came to America. No, it didn't happen like that. No, man. And our history, and the Israelites from the so-called Negroes down to the so-called Mexicans, right? Our history is fucking vast, man. First of all, you so-called Negroes, what you're going to find out, we ruled Europe for 1,000 years. And you know what's funny? All of a sudden, everybody's a fucking wizard when it comes to, the history of this and history. You go on social media, everybody's a master, right? Everybody's a freaking authority on history all of a sudden, right? Bringing out stuff. Really, all the shit they're bringing out on social media is stuff that the Israelites, mainly here in GMS, but the one Westers, have been bringing out for how long? Decades. All of a sudden, like I was on the internet recently, man. Somebody gonna put up on there. What was it about the talking about the alligator bait and all of that? Like, that's some new shit. Yeah, the gator bait. Yeah, they use Negroes as gator bait. No shit, Sherlock. Of course, we've been telling you that for years. Right, and a host of other shit. They finally finding out that the small hats ain't right. All right, whatever, man. But there's the thing. What they ain't touch yet is the fact that we ruled Europe, man. They ain't going to that.
Mm-hmm.
They're pushing that Afrocentric bullshit. We ruled Europe. All right, you got our people scattered throughout Asia, man. All right, and the scriptures back it up, man. I just read Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Hell, you got Isaiah the 11th chapter, right? You go into what's that in the New Testament about the people scattered, our brothers scattered abroad. Greetings. What's that? First John.
First.
You hear me, Taz? What was that? Say that again, brother. Yeah, to the brother that scattered abroad. I'll get it, man. Oh, James 1 and 1. James 1 and 1. Slack. I said first. James 1 and 1. If you read it, if I mentioned it, you can read it. Yeah, James 1 and 1. It says, James, this is in the New Testament, showing you that the disciples who became the apostles already knew that our brothers are scattered abroad, man. Right? Now, they were scattered amongst the other nation doing heathenistic shit. That's why they were being called Gentiles. That's right. They were being called heathen. Not because they were actual heathen. The word heathen means foreigner or a non-Israelite, so you can understand. Another nation, somebody of another nation. Our people that were scattered became heathenistic. They started following other gods, right? They started doing all kind of foul shit. And they didn't remember the heritage, which meant they're an Israelite, right? But the point being is we were scattered amongst all nations.
That's at Jeremiah 17 and 4.
Man, that's right. And that's a big chip. That's something that's a stumbling block, man. It's a big hurdle. Stumbling block in the heart. That's right. So it says, James, a servant of the Heavenly Father and of the Lord Yahushua, to the 12 tribes. Who's the 12 tribes? The 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. This Bible is only for the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. You read about Israel from front to back. The Lord only chose one people. Even the nations knew that the Lord only chose one. What people have for lack of better terms, a God. What people have a God such as this?
Yep, Jeremiah 17 and 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, the law, statutes, and commandments. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. That's lucky.
Right? Which we don't use the word God. I'm just using that for, so you can understand. People out there that never heard this before. Right? The nations knew that we have something special. That we are a special people to the Heavenly Father. And that they're not. All right? And that's what they're mad about. Everybody's trying to claim that they're us. Everybody's trying to join themselves unto our blessing. And it's not going to happen. You can't be joined to our blessing because you are not of the stock of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You have to be of the stock of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Esau. Mad because he lost the blessing to this day.
To be a part of this. And if you're of the stock of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you have to be of the elect. Because not all of the stock of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is going to make it. Because 2/3 of it is out. So you got to be of the elect of the stock of Abraham, Isaac.
See, not all of Israel is of Israel.
Jacob, that's even another. That's another notch right there. That's another notch. 2/3 of our people got
Romans 9 and I want to say 6 or 7.
On this side, but they're going to be in the kingdom. They have to be born again as babies in the kingdom, man. That's right. Right. But but going back to the point, our people were scattered abroad. A lot of them, like going into the Black Irish, our people were scattered throughout all of Europe, man, and we ruled them places.
Yeah,
that's right. So what? You don't think we left seed all up in there?
That's right.
And your nationality, and going back to the seed. That's another thing that you people got to realize is that your nationality is determined by your father. And his father. It got nothing to do with your mother could be another nation. It doesn't matter. What's your father? What's your father? All right. That's what it's all. There's no such thing as you're a mixed race. No, that's bullshit the so-called white man came up with. When he came up with that bullshit, one drop bullshit, man. That's all garbage. That's all rubbish. All right. You know what? It's about who your father is. If the spirit allows it, I got some information that I had just read that I found that the spirit led me to it. If the spirit allows me to get to it, it's going to shed light on everything that you just said right there about the fathers. Now that it gives me even more understanding as to why the Irish were so hated too, because Esau, at least if Esau, know that a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, it could be maybe half of them. It could be maybe a good half of them is Jakes. Yeah. And they know that. And they know historically, they know that for real. And I got some information that's going to shed light on that if the spirit allows me to touch them. But yeah, I'm going to finish this real quick, and then you go. So going back to James 1:1, it says, James, a servant of the Heavenly Father and of the Lord Yahweh Shai, not Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shai. Right. To the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings. Scattered abroad from where?
This is a quick excerpt. This is a comment from the previous video I was showing you about Rich Tidwell going into who he thinks the real Jews are, which is really a bunch of Anglo-British Israelism. This is a comment on this video from Keeter904. This was a long message with lots of details. Unless I'm mistaken, Rich essentially shares similar conclusions to that of Herbert W. Armstrong, who founded the Worldwide Church of God in the early 20th century. Excuse me. So the following is from Claude AI. Within Herbert W. Armstrong's theological framework, the Assyrian captivity of 721 BC marked not the end of the 10 tribes of Israel, but the beginning of their divinely guided migration into the nations of Europe, which we know that's not true in 2nd Esdras. I'm gonna bring it out later on. That they migrated to what's known as the lands of America. They sailed for a year and a half. Nations of Europe. Armstrong taught that the lost tribes were first taken to the region of the Caucasus Mountains, near the southern shores of the Caspian Sea, and that in time they passed through the mountain corridors, sometimes identified in this tradition as the Pass of Israel, moving gradually northward and westward into what would become the European continent. Which is why Buddy mentioned Nehemiah, I believe. Hold on, Salakia. Let me get back to the video in a second. Why he mentioned Nehemiah 13:23-24. That the Israelites would return from the land of the north. He's mentioning Europe. As they journeyed across generations and centuries, Armstrong believed these tribes emerged under entirely new national and ethnic identities. He associated them particularly with people such as the Scythians and the Cimmerians, whom he regarded not as unrelated ancient groups, but as the descendants of Israel living out their exile under different names. Which doesn't make so-called Black Israelism so far-fetched, does it? Since people can just live out their exile under different names. In his reading of history, these migrations were not random movements of displaced peoples, but the unfolding of a divine plan embedded within biblical prophecy itself. Armstrong carried this framework forward into his identification of specific modern European nations with the specific Israelite tribes. He associated France with Reuben, the Netherlands with Zebulun, and Denmark with Dan, drawing a linguistic and historical connection through the Jutes of Jutland, Scandinavia, and portions of northwestern Europe. He linked to other tribes such as Issachar, and Asher. Germany, however, occupied a fundamentally different position in his theological map. Rather than identifying the German people as descendants of Israel, Armstrong thought they were the modern heirs of ancient Assyria itself. This distinction was not identical. It carried significant prophetic weight, as Armstrong believed Germany's historical pattern of militarism and its future role in leading a revived European superpower would place it at the center of the last days, fulfilling prophecies he associated with the Assyrian as an instrument of divine judgment in the end times. Had to go to that little excerpt right quick. We're going to try to get back to the video. Hopefully it didn't disappear. Oh, there it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got it. No, scattered everywhere. Well,
So yeah, that all that was to explain the origins of Anglo-British Israelism.
the entire, at that time, the known world was over there. On that side of the world was the known world. This side of this area over here, the Americas, was known as the land where mankind never dwelt. Now, at this time, when this was written, the 10 tribes was over here in the Americas. The 10 tribes had already been over here. They've been over here for a while. So you're talking about the time of the New Testament, going back to the time of Yahweh Shai, early AD, early century AD. Jake was already over here for about 700 years. They was already over here in the Americas for like 700 years prior to the book of James, prior to the New Testament even being written, prior to the birth of Yahweh Shai. The tribe was already over here for about 700 years here in the Americas, the 10 tribes. So it says, James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahweh Shai, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. The tribes were scattered abroad. And at that time, who were the disciples dealing with? They was dealing with those Hellenized Greek Israelites that were living in the Greek city-states all throughout Asia, Asia Minor, Asia Minor, and Asia Minor, Asia Major. All throughout those regions, they were dealing with Israelites that were all living all throughout Asia. Those Israelites that lived in Asia were, you gotta understand the history, they were given Greek citizenship. They had Greek citizenship.
God.
And that's in the history. You go into the Josephus, it speaks about that they had Greek citizenship, and it was actually honored. The Israelites that were in those different Greeks.
You can actually also go into the Apocrypha in First and Second Maccabees
city-states
as well.
They were honored by the kings, kings of Asia. The kings of Asia honored them and had them as auxiliaries in their armies and paid them equal wages and gave them equal citizenship with Greek citizens. So they were also Greek citizens, and they got equal pay.
Further proving the Hellenization of the Jews, which is why Rich Tidwell, at the end of his so-called sermon, brought up, Galatians 3 and there's no Jew nor Greek.
As regular Greeks. It's a lot of history. It's a lot of history. Now, concerning the Irish, I'm gonna go back and play this. This guy, he's telling you, he said, look, Irish, we're known as the blacks of Europe. So I'm gonna just play this, and once this ends, then I'm just gonna go into it.
And I was like, no, we're already really committed to that strategy. I mean, we've made a movie and called it The Commitments. And some of you will have seen it. Fantastic movie about 11 white Irish people in a jazz band, and their slogan is, say it once, say it loud, we're black and we're proud. And I know you don't have diversity.
See that? He said, and they said, say it once, say it loud, we're black and we're proud. These are the Irish. He's saying it as a joke, but it's really not a joke. A lot of truth is said in jest. So I'm going to just let it continue. It's not that long.
Training in this country anymore. But if you did, that would be a bit of a red flag, wouldn't it? You're like, listen, Irish people, you can't just be saying you're black. That's not how it works. But we never saw anything wrong with doing that. We always looked at black culture and we saw shared oppression, segregation, and of course, love of hip hop. And I know you think we love traditional music, diddly high and the fiddle and all that stuff. And we do, but primarily we export it to you. We're at home rapping our faces off, to be honest. Love it. We grew up hugely under the influence of all things black culture, like biggest watched TV shows by a mile, all black. Different Strokes, The Fresh Prince, and The Cosbys, which worked out well for nobody, really. But that's on your country. We were just watching. And I've done the biggest selling bands by a mile when I was growing up were NWA and Public Enemy. And I know. I don't know if you've listened to their lyrics. They're a little bit feisty. We were just out there repeating them verbatim.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Hey, Shalom, Bishop, and Adazak.
Hey, Shalom, Bishop. Yahweh Shai Brakatome.
Yes.
You hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hey, Shalom. Say that's heavy. You remember that movie he was talking about, right?
The Commitments. I never actually seen it. I heard of it, but I never seen it.
Oh man, Pastor Boy, he put me onto that movie. Shit, man, you talk about maybe 20 years.
I haven't seen that either.
20 years ago or something like that, man. And you know what? It was hard as hell to find. Because one time he let me use when DVDs first came out. I think it was a DVD I think it was a DVD, and I don't know what the hell happened with it. So I always wanted to buy him another one, and I couldn't find it. But when you watch it, yeah, you see it. They bring out a lot of, and that's heavy because see, and pretty much most Jakes are so-called, these Israelites out here. They don't know nothing. They don't do no research. They just look at the skin and all that. Look at you got skin like a so-called white man and everything. But you got to know the background and the history. He got to be a white man. Man, this history, and he's coming from the perspective of him growing up in Ireland, right? And he said we shared the same struggle because they went through it. But in that movie, they said, look, we're the Dubliners. We're the niggas of Europe. Right. They were speaking on that, and he was going to exactly. And that's why when they came over here, they were calling them niggas. The Italians went through it too.
You hear that? The word dub means black. I wasn't even aware. And they're going to go into a lot of good, deep etymology and lineage in this. Yeah, check it out.
It's the same thing. But see, the Lord said that his heritage is as a speckled bird, right? And then the Lord said that he would scatter us into all the country. So, I think it was Bishop Zion said earlier, here it is, Jake is around. You put a Jake around any type of woman, Japanese, Hawaiian, a white woman, blonde hair, blue eyes. What you think Jake gonna do? If not sooner than later. Jake gonna pop that. They're gonna pop the hell out of it. That's what any of us would do, and that's the hypocrisy.
But you know what? I'm glad you said that because I was kind of going to save that for the end, but I might as well. The spirit keeps up. So now, what you said, here goes some information on that from a book by David McRitchie. I'm going to have to pull it back out the catalog here. I'm going to have to take it back out the catalog here. And I'm going to show the cover, and then I'm going to go right to it. And, okay, let me pop up. And what he shows here, I'm going to just show the cover, because you was talking about how Jake popping the women, right? That's a Norman Knight, and that's his woman. This is a Jake, obviously. That's a Negro, a Norman Knight, and that's his woman. And that don't look like a black woman, right? No, right. So now, let me see if I can pull this up, get back here to the reference point. I think it's, let me blow this up. And I think it was page 318, I believe.
Yeah, what you gotta understand also, that Jake and that woman, his woman is a woman of another nation. Whatever that, if they have a baby, that baby he's the nation of his father, not the mother.
God.
His father and his father.
Now here on page 318, Ancient and Modern Britons, it says this. In none of these cases, Blue John, Blue Donald, and Green Collar. Now these terms, Blue Donald, or Blue John actually is another way of saying Black John, or Blue Donald, Black Donald, or Green Collar means Black Collar. It's going to break it down.
Salaki, real quick. This is Numbers 1 and 18, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So lineage goes back to the house of the father.
In none of these cases, Blue John, Blue Donald, and Green Collar is there direct evidence that the green man was a black man. And in the first example, the probability is quite the other way. For the rule of the Black Knights over that clan.
Wait, there was Black Knights?
Yes. It says for the rule of the Black Knights over that clan had probably by the time yielded to the supremacy.
Yes, sir. Dark Knights.
Of a fairer race. Fair-skinned people. In other words, Esau, a fair-skinned people. It says either by the overthrow of a dynasty, as in the case of Black Douglas, nobles, half a century earlier, or by repeated intermarrying of swarthy chiefs, generation after generation, with members of the fair-skinned races. Gaels, Norsemen, Normans, and others.
Yeah, Gaels.
Yes.
The Gaelic.
The Gaelic, Norsemen, and Norman, the Norman Knights, that's a Norman Knight that's on the cover of the book. The Norsemen, which are what? The Vikings. Intermarried with what? Fairer-skinned women, and produce offspring that were what? Lighter skin. Like you were speaking about, Bishop and Dr. Zach, how these guys, they don't understand about, they're looking at the color or outer exterior, but it goes back to the father. So what he's saying, what David McRitchie is saying here is that there were intermarrying of swarthy chiefs, Jakes, black men. Swarthy means dark skin. Intermarrying of dark-skinned chiefs, generation after generation. This was going on for generations, with members of the fair-skinned races, Gaels, Norsemen, Normans, and others.
Wait a minute, Norsemen, Normans. That's Northern Europe. That's Northern Europe. That's like what? That's Scandinavia.
Yes.
But if they tell you that, the Scandinavians are the whitest of all white. Now, amongst them, you're gonna have Jake, man. It might be pretty good. It might be like right damn near white, right? But that's a Jake.
Yep.
That's right.
It's a Jake. I know he just passed. He was born from either over there or I think the Netherlands. I can't remember, but still, And he said, man, basically there's a whole bunch of Jakes that are in them. Well, yeah, you got camps up there, GMS Holland and other different brothers out there. But now, and again, right, Bishop, now it goes back, you mentioned the Normandy, the Norsemen.
Yep.
The word Noor itself means what? Black. In French, it's noir. Right? Like the Levite brother said, Jejequis, Lo Blanc. No, Jejequis, that's noir, Lo Blanc. The Lord is not white, he's a black man. So noir, or Noors, you know? So just to further, because a lot of these places, or King Richard, I said the Black King or the Black Prince.
Yeah,
they were called
Edward the Black Prince.
Edward the Black Prince.
Right.
And they had all these different names that had, the black this, the black that, land of the black, or the Anglo Scotland, land of the blacks. Why you think that was so? Because why? It was so-called black people that was in them areas. And this is just, like the bishop said, further proof going into it, which, if I could read a quick precept, right? Because the Lord, this is what the Lord said. This Deuteronomy, go straight to the point. Chapter 30, verse 3. It says that then the Lord, thy power will turn thy captivity, right? Did we not go into slavery? And we went to stay all over across the four corners of the earth. All right? Because remember, the icon images such as the one that the brother showed earlier, the images of the rulers in the dark ages were clearly so-called blacks. So what happened? We went into captivity. All right, Job 9:24. Earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Right? So now, again, it says that then the Lord thy power will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee. Linking with what? Isaiah the 14th chapter. That's right. And will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Lord thy power have scattered thee. See? So Jake don't go into that part of this prophecy. You got to deal with the whole book, man. So you get the complete understanding. All right, 1 John 1:20. You got to go all into it. You got to know. You got to get into the history. You got to look up because the history links with the scriptures. You got to go into it, man.
And in fact, you might as well read the next verse too.
Okay. Yep. It says.
Just to back up the brother's point. This is Malachi 1:4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness, proving who the wicked are. And the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever.
If any of thine be driven out of the utmost parts of heaven, right? It says, from thence will the Lord thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Which, that's heavy. And then that leads to what's that? Matthew the 24th chapter, right?
That's right.
Hey, so why do you think the Lord's coming deliver his elect which has been scattered through the four corners of the earth? So that was
so like I
what's that? Matthew the 24th chapter, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Hey, so why do you think the Lord's coming deliver his elect which has been scattered through the four corners of the earth? So that was the prophecy. So you want to have Israelites looking like these other nations. And the way you're going to tell, of course, we always go to Romans 8 and 16. You got a popular so-called, I guess, Italian, all right? They said, but then they said it was a rumor, though. I don't know how true. They said Al Pacino died at 85. I don't know if it's true or not. But now, if you look at Al Pacino, I ain't no fucking white boy. I mean, it's not, he Hollywood wicked, of course. Don't talk about it. All of them, so is Denzel, right? They're Hollywood wicked, but still, the point is, that flair, that's not no fucking white boys. White boys don't act like that.
That's a Jake all the way, man.
That's a Jake.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep. So now, we read that, right, about how swarthy chiefs, generation after generation, intermarried with members of fair-skinned races, Gales, Norsemen, Norman, and others. This revolution, gradual or sudden, must have taken place sometime or another, perhaps before the time of John Gorham, perhaps after, for the eminent chieftain of that race, who has given tradition to the public. Now, it says, remarks elsewhere that his clansmen regard light yellow hair as one of the belongings of a Campbell. Right? So that's what he says on that. Now, if I go to the very beginning of this same book, right? Because we're talking about the ancient Britons, right? So we already established that this Norman knight, these swarthy men were marrying women of fairer skin. Just like Blake Griffin's father.
Oh wow, I didn't even really peep that. There you go, right there to the left. Wow. Man, we are definitely the Israelites, man.
Blake Griffin is a dark-skinned man like this who married a fair-skinned woman. He married a white woman, actually, and produced Blake Griffin. Now, Blake is dealing with a white woman. His son looked like a straight-up white boy, but that ain't no white boy. That's a Jake. We know that. Now, if I open up here to the beginning of this book, Ancient and Modern Britons, right? If I go here to this page here, right? It says, after a reference to the proto-Negroid aspects of some of the ancient skulls found in the country, the author then turns his attention to the Picts and states that they and early Scots were of the same black race.
Man, come on, man. Wow.
Now, let me jump down here. because it's a time thing. I can't read everything.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's a lot
Now,
of
Mac Ritchie,
information.
who is the author of this book, Mac Ritchie informs us that Negroes, probably from West Africa, brought to Scotland the Ashanti blood ceremony, the marriage dance, the Morris dance.
Ashanti, that's one of the tribes that have that still have Hebraic customs
and other traditions. Leo Weiner reminds us that matrilineal inheritance,
along with some of the Igbo, I can't mention many more right now. Let's play.
as practiced in ancient Scotland, mantles and sporin, which are pouches, all come from Africa, West Africa, I guess that's what he's talking about. This, of course, is all part of the uniform of Scottish pipers, the bagpipers. Right now, it goes on to say, to support his belief that the Danish Vikings were Negroes. Now, didn't we read in the other one about the Normans and the Norman Knight and all that? Didn't we see the Knight talking about the Vikings? What did he say here, Bishop Desire? Bishop Natazak? To support his belief that the Danish Vikings were Negroes.
Negroids. That's right.
Mac Ritchie quotes several sources thusly. Here, there is perfect unanimity that cum nigris gentibus of the annals Menavensis and Powell's Welsh Chronicle, Black Army, are at one. Thus, we have as evidence these terms dub, used with four different nouns, Niger and black, all applied in the most natural and matter-of-fact way to the Danish pirates. The Danish pirates black, by men of presumably white race. Can anything be clearer? The author lists many surnames, the progenitors of whom were Negroes.
Yeah, damn.
Go back to the men.
There you go, going back to the men. It says, go ahead, brother, say what you got to say.
No. Finish, read the point. I'll come to the scripture.
It says, I mention here a few because of a sort of a grim satisfaction I get from doing so. Morrison, or Morrison, means literally son of the Moor. Moor being synonymous with Negro, as seen in Shakespeare.
Hey, now, the apostles been bringing that out. Apostles on down in GMS.
Moor's son. They in Spanish and Portuguese were called Moranos. The Browns.
And bring all this. You can read it right here. Was being brought out years and years ago. Even going into the names like Morrison. Matter of fact, Apostle Barnes always going to that. Morrison means a son. Anything with a son at the end, like Johnson, Thompson, is a son of something, right? Morrison is a son of a Moor, all right? Yep. Which are black.
That's right.
I got a question. How come Tyreek Nasheed don't do a hidden colors on this?
Hey, brother, I don't know.
These people in the world are one-dimensional, man, and they ain't got the juice. The juice is the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua.
And they ain't got the juice.
They lack it.
That's
This
right.
is fast history. Fast effing history, man. Like, typical Negro. And look, a lot of us, we were born in the 70s, man. We were born in a time when that whole Afrocentricism was going on big. Our parents had friends that was on to that shit. They used to walk around with dashiki, teaching all kind of Hamitic bullshit. Or something.
Yeah, double honor to the elders and apostles, man.
Yeah, I remember these two weirdos. This one dude, his woman was big as a house, about 7 foot tall. He was 3 feet tall. Looking all weird and shit, right? Talking about some African shit, man. Talking about Egypt. Egypt, those are Hamites. Them people, that's not our people. You don't even know how to break down the different nationalities, man. All you know is the bullshit that the white man done fed you. Esau the devil.
That's all these niggas know.
Even you Afrocentric niggas that's into Kemetic, y'all got all that shit from the so-called white man, the devil, man. That's why when this true knowledge come out, you can't comprehend it. Because your brain is smaller than a grape, man. It's too heavy for you. You know?
Yeah, you're right. If they even have a brain, you know, like scripture say, I mean, that one of the five way of understanding to remain in the congregation of the dead. So what's that? That's a fucking zombie. That's a walking zombie. You know, walking dead. That's what you niggas are.
Shalom, GMS White, Gabar Yehuda. He put
Hey, Shalom.
Al Pacino's not dead. As of late 2024, the actor is alive. And actor has recently released his memoir, Sonny Boy.
Yeah. They put it out first. They said he was dead, and some said it's not true, and some, but yeah, son, but he's a J. He's Hollywood wicked. He's definitely gonna die. He ain't gonna be delivered. And it's not like people think they run with it because they ignorant, man. They run with it because
you gotta say it the right way. Them ignorant.
Yeah, exactly. Just like he said. The thing is, we're not saying Irish is gonna be saved or whatever. We're saying that no, there are people amongst them, and if the Lord can wake them up, which is probably, we know, I don't know if they still teaching, but we know brothers, Irish brothers that's actually been teaching. Italian brothers, Moorish brothers, different brothers throughout Europe and Africa and Central North. Look, man, the Lord's elect is going to come from out of all these other different nations, man. That's why, was on Revelation. Matter of fact, I don't know if you want to read it real quick.
Go right ahead.
And that's why, again, and this is going to always constantly be a topic of the thing that that comes up. This is a very heavy.
He just brought up, just about to back the brother up again, if I can find the correct scripture. I think it's Feast of Blood. Salaki, this is a long ass lesson. Yeah, because they all these celebrities and actors and artists made an alignment with the left hand. Made a covenant with the left hand. You know, they sold their soul basically. Wow, if I can get it to pull up, man. Here it goes, Salakia. Wisdom of Solomon 12:5. And also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh and feast of blood.
Topic. It was back during the time of our Lord, during the time of the apostles. This was a heavy topic. But the thing is, back then, they just wrote the niggas off. They knew that they were jakes, but they looked at them as the straight heathens. Because back then, when you go to the church of Galatia, all the different churches in Asia Minor, those areas, it was jakes in there, but they were going off like heathens. But now, when you go to Revelations, let me pull it back up again. Revelation 7, and I'll start at 9, but the point's in 14 or 13. Pardon me. So Revelation chapter 9, verse 7, verse 9. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude." Right, and this is what them stupid dumbass Christians they try to, because they don't understand it neither. All right, so here it is. You got these bugged out Israelites that's going off, and you got these stupid wacky tacky demonic ass Christians. They both bugged out on each side of the spectrum because they're both wrong. They don't understand. This is talking about the Israelites that are scattered in the other, which, hey, the bishop is pulling out the documents, right? So it said, "After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number of all nations," right? Meaning what? The nations where the Lord scattered us, pardon me. It says, "of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues," because you got Israelites speaking, even to this day, speaking different languages. It says, "stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes." The white robes represent what? The knowledge, this truth. All right? It's not talking about, although there's robes that we wear, but this is symbolic. It said in palms in their hands. It said in cry with them.
What verse were you reading from?
Oh, Slack, I'm in verse 9. I'm going into verse 10 right now. Okay. Revelation 7. Revelation 7. Yeah, Slack if I said the 9th chapter. I'm sorry. Revelation 7. I started at 9. Now I'm in verse 10.
Okay.
I wait.
Oh, shoot.
Now, you guys in the comments are on to me because now you're knowing that that's exactly what I'm going to say at the beginning. Everybody say the title of the message. Well, hypothesis, okay, if you don't know what that word means, the Oxford definition is...
Salakia, hold on.
I wait.
Here we go, Salakia.
Hey, shalom.
Shalom, Bishop.
Shalom.
All right, you did? Okay, so I'll read on in the 10th verse. Right? Well, I'll start at 9 again since you just pulled it up. Right? And the caption is "a multitude from the tribulation." All right? And that gives you a hint too, because when you play that comic that said why the Irish people, when he grew up, they would compare themselves to the blacks, because why? They were both impoverished. They were catching hell. All right? Same struggle. Apostle Rama went to Deuteronomy 28th chapter years ago, and he said that's a GPS tracker on where the Israelites are, because why? Those curses is going to be on the Israelites. All right? You got other nations, they get judgment brought upon them, right? But they don't go through what we go through. And they know who they are anyway. All right? But anyway, he said that's why, because of the tribulation, they went through the same struggles. So it said a multitude from the tribulation, meaning the elect Israelites are going to be gathered up out of these different, from amongst these different nations. And some of them are going to look, if not like you saying, like about maybe a good percentage of the Irish could be Jakes, good percentage of the...
Yep, so that cuts the that pre-tribulation rapture doctrine. It said the ones that come up out of tribulation.
Italian, Scottish, So that's what this prophecy, that's why you got to go into this so you can understand really what this is talking about, because a Christian, a dumbass Christian or a nigga, they'll try to read this and lead you down the road saying, yeah, all nations. And yep, I see my man, he brought out Isaiah, Shalom to the top one, Isaiah 11 and 11. That's right, Acts the 2nd chapter. All right, but anyway, I'm going to go back into this, because for what stuff Taj is going into, you got to understand, seeing that history to know what this is talking about. That this is talking about the Israelites. It ain't talking about no actual crackers or no heathens or no other nations outside of Israel. Nope. So it said,
Go right ahead.
Okay, so it said, "After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands." Verse 10. "And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power." All right, we got to always bring out about, pronouns or nouns and possessive pronouns, right? Our when you say our, meaning a possessive pronoun, doesn't pertain to everybody. So these mixed multitude is saying our God. We know that the Heavenly Father is only the God of the Israelites, you know. So it says salvation to our power. Yep. Salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne and into the land. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces and worshiped the Most High, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our power forever and ever. Amen. Verse 13. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? Right? Because why? Obviously, you don't have Israelites looking like all type of different other nations. So verse 14, this is John the Revelator. He said, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. Right? Because in other words, I don't know. They didn't look like Israelites. John was a Jew. John, remember, he would consider the circumcision. You know what I'm saying? He kept the custom, like, you know, he knew he was an Israelite. So now you're seeing all these other, such as Cornelius, his family, and all the other different Israelite foreigners, they seeing them being clothed with the white robes, being delivered and saved and everything. So he's like, I don't know. Right? The angel answered, he said, these are they which came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. All right, so that's the elect.
Because the elected men of Israel are going to be. You have to remember, the great deliverance of Israel, of the elect of the nation of Israel, is going to be right here in Babylon the Great, which is America. But when you read down Jeremiah 15 and 14, it also says we're going to be delivered from other countries and other lands, islands. Right.
So, I got you right here in Mark 13. It's in Matthew 24:31. And
this is what so-called Pastor Rich Tidwell was trying to bring out, but he was insinuating that the land of the north was in Europe. And real quick, to back up that scripture, the Revelations 7 through 13, 14. This is Jeremiah 12, 9 and 11. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about her are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. You read, you also read in the scripture that all the nations are confederate against us. Verse 10, many pastors have destroyed my vineyard. They have trodden my portion underfoot. They have made my pleasant portion a desolate wilderness. They have made it desolate, and being desolate, it mourneth unto me. We're going to cry unto the Lord, and the whole land is made desolate, because no man layeth it to heart. We're going to go ahead and continue the lesson. I'm going to probably end up making this 2 parts, because the eldest lesson is probably, let's like about 2 hours long.
13, but I'll read Mark 13 and 27. It says, and then he shall send his angels and gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from the uttermost part of the earth and uttermost part of heaven. Boom.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's it, man.
So they're gonna be gathered from the 4 winds and the uttermost parts of heaven. Now, going back to what we were initially speaking about, dealing with the Irish, we know that the Irish have kinship with who? The Galatians, right?
Yep. You can trace the roots back to the Galatians. That's right.
So that's gonna take us back. So let me go there to let me read this here.
The Celts. Yep.
It says here, I put in Google, is there a connection between the Galatians and the Irish? It says here, yes, there is a historical and linguistic connection between the Galatians and the Irish, as both were branches of the ancient Celtic people. The Galatians were Gauls who migrated from Europe to Anatolia. Anatolia is modern-day Turkey. In the 3rd century BC, that was the time when the Greek Empire came into power. Remember, in the 3rd century BC, 322 BC, right? The 3rd millennium BC, sharing a common distant ancestry and linguistic roots with Celts who later settled in Ireland, right? Shared Celtic origins. Both the Galatians and the Irish Gauls are descended from a broader ancient Celtic tribe. So when people see that, they're going to say, oh, so that means that the Galatians were white people. Bullshit.
Right.
Because when you go into right here, when you go into Asia Minor, which I have the map right here, you see Galatia is right here in the middle of Asia Minor, right? This is the, you got the island of Cyprus right here. But right here, you got Phrygia, Lydia, Troy, which is over here. This is where the Trojans was at, Troas, which is over here, right? You have Galatia, which is right here. Galatia is right here, basically right here in the middle, right here. Galatia. So from Galatia, they migrated from here and went where? Where did they go? They went to Ireland, to Scotland and Ireland, right? So from Galatia, they migrated over
into Western Europe and into the Isles. Yeah.
into Western Europe and then to the Isles. Let me see if I can pull this down. So pretty much they went from there and they came over into these regions here. Scotland and Ireland. That's where they came to. Now, the people that came from those regions, the Galatians that migrated and came over here to Scotland and Ireland, what were they? They were Israelites. They were not so-called white people. They were not so-called white people. They were Israelites. As a matter of fact, let me pull that up. I believe I got that over here. I'm just trying to find my tab. Give me one second. Bear with me one moment right here. So now if we go here into the Josephus, right? We go here into the Josephus, book 12. Antiquity of the Jews, book 12, and we go here to chapter 5, I believe. It's chapter 5. I got to scroll down. It's a lot of scrolling. That's chapter 3. Now check this, what it says here. Because a nigga, when they read something like that, honestly, that's automatically talking about white people. First of all, the book of Galatians was written to who? The Jakes that was living in Galatia. That was in Asia Minor. So the Jakes that was living in Galatia, these are the ones that went out, right? Now it says, let me see if I can find it in here. I believe it's here in the 5th. Bear with me one moment.
Hey, let me read the scripture while you do that.
Go ahead.
This is Ezekiel 36:16. It said, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it. And there's a reason why we're scattered. Because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. We're doing all kind of odious works of witchcraft. We're all into all kind of wickedness, worshiping other gods, right? We were filthy. That's why the Lord expelled us out of the land and had us scattered. It was a reason why we were scattered, man. It's all spiritual. The Lord scattered us abroad amongst the heathen. It says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. So we were like a woman's period to the Lord, man. So you understand?
Yeah.
We're foul. Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land. Right? And our people's always known for murdering, killing, sacrificing, human sacrificing. All right? So the Lord was disgusted with us, man. Wherefore I poured out, and he poured out his fury on us. For the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And I scattered them among the heathen. In other words, other nations. And they were dispersed through the countries. According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them.
That's it right there. No, that's the key right there. I mean, it says everything. That's the whole history right there.
Yep. So now, matter of fact, I had the wrong quote. It was it's book 12, chapter 3, paragraph 1, and it says this. It says on the title, how the kings of Asia honored the nation of the Jews and made them citizens of those cities which they built. Galatia, Phrygia, Cappadocia, Pontus. Those are all cities in what? Asia Minor, right?
And who built those cities? You just read it. Who built those?
It says how the kings of Asia honored the nation of the Jews and made them citizens of those cities which they built. The kings of Asia had those cities built and they honored the Jakes that was there. And it goes on to say this. The Jews also obtained honors from the kings of Asia when they became their auxiliaries, meaning auxiliaries in their military. For Seleucus Nicator made them citizens in those cities which he built in Asia. And in Lower Syria and in the metropolis itself, Antioch, and gave them privileges equal to those of the Macedonians and Greeks. So Jakes got equal privileges with the Macedonians and the Greeks. They obtained Greek citizenship.
Hey, another thing you gotta remember too, going back to these suckers out here in this modern world, these people of the world, that whole thing with skin color and shit, that was invented right here. Going back in those days, it was all about nationality. It wasn't about no fucking skin color. That skin color shit was invented right here. Huh? Yeah,
your father. You're going through your father, your nation.
Right, your nation. That whole skin color shit, and and one drop of black and all. The so-called white, this devil came up with that shit.
Oh yeah.
And he pushed it so hard throughout the generations that motherfuckers think that 2,000 years ago that was a thing. You know?
But we're dealing with 2,000 years ago right now. We're reading about 2,000 years ago right now.
That's right.
So it says, and gave them privileges equal to those of the Macedonians and Greeks, who were the inhabitants, in so much that these privileges continue to this very day. An argument for which you have is in this, that whereas the Jews, right, do not make use of oil prepared by foreigners, right? So now, dealing with the Galatians, we know that the Galatians that migrated from Galatia and went into Scotland and Ireland, that those were these Jews that were Macedonian that were citizens in the Greek city-states. They were the ones that went there. Now, let's deal with the actual with the actual Scotland and Ireland, because we got Scotland and then we got Ireland. And you have something here called the Hebrides, which goes back to.
Okay, I'm gonna end it off there. I'm gonna make it part 2. This video that I'm watching now by Jacob Barak, 1757. I stopped off at 56:16. I'm gonna end off saying call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles. And shalom to the hopeful elect at home and scattered abroad, man. I love y'all. I'm gonna come with a part 2 of this video and let it ride. This is I'm not sure what I'm gonna title this, but this is going into this Israelite scattering into Europe and the diaspora of Europe, the Israelite diaspora of Europe, something like that. But it's shalom, man. Have a good day.